We often equate our ability to fight the enemy that our eyes can see to fighting an enemy that our eyes cannot see. You cannot fight an enemy that your eye cannot see with the same tools you're used to fighting the enemy your eye can see. Who is the enemy our eyes cannot see, our physical eyes cannot see? If it's not the primary source of our adversary, whether it's in that, whether it's in this terrestrial plane or in the spiritual realm, our enemy is the same. Everything derives from everything derives from the spiritual realm. We're fighting not against flesh and blood. Remember that? We fight not against flesh and blood, but against strongholds and in high places, principalities and strongholds. And so we're basically fighting an enemy that functions outside of this physical realm, affecting this physical realm by affecting it first in the spiritual realm. So there's different types of tools required, different type of skill set required to learn how to fight the enemy in his own ground, in his own area of habitat. And I'm sure if you're a militant dude, you have all the strategies on how to do that on a physical playing field. I see a lot of us, a lot of good men that have been called by the Father, practicing how to fight the enemy that their eyes can see. And that's good. I see them practicing dry fire practice, presentation, trigger discipline, trigger squeeze, uh, getting more familiar with your firearm, whether it is your handgun or your rifle, going to training facilities and going to the range and learning tactics on how to execute and feeling more familiar with your weapon and also going to the gym and reinforcing and strengthening the muscles that you need in order to make those exercises easier. I see, and that's good. That's all good. Preparations with martial arts, all of the tools on this terrestrial plane that you need in order to fight the enemy that your eye can see. Now, here's the strategic plan, the strategic part, far more important, much more important than the physical aspect of the fight, is training how to fight the enemy, learning the moves of the enemy on the spiritual realm. Because the end game is to affect you on your physical realm, but it starts in the spiritual realm. I think that the Father's people should invest more time in learning how to fight the enemy at its gates. Fight the enemy that your terrestrial eye cannot see. How do you do that? Well, for one, you got to start paying attention to the voice of your creator because he's constantly talking to you. You want to build more discernment. You want to build more ease of the tools of the spirit of the Father. You have to yield to the process. You have to empty your cup so that he can fill it. If you are full of yourself and all of your ideas, ideologies, and all the programs, if you're full of all your perspective, all your personal logical perspectives on this terrestrial playing field, then it's hard for him to show you how to fight the enemy on his ground. I hope I'm explaining myself correctly. When we don't take our time to give the Spirit of the Father a chance to reveal to us, when we're not interested in sacrificing parts of our physical movement in order to acquire the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, the tool set, the tool and the skill sets that you need to fight the enemy at their gates, where it starts in the spiritual realm. You can't have both. You can train. You can train on this terrestrial playing field, but you have to pause one to build the other. And then you realize that once you get to that point where you have exercised, like everything you practice, you get good at, right? You get to that point where you're exercising, you get stronger and stronger and more tactile and more muscle memory, so to speak, but all in the spiritual realm side of things. You realize that now you can see the enemy coming a mile away, and you can brace for that blow if that blow is something you cannot avoid because it has been granted by the Father. But now you can brace for it and you can plan around it and you can strategize on the recovery of that blow. Different skill sets. It's very similar, but you can't fight this enemy with bullets right at first. The bullets may come if the enemy gets his way. By the time the bullets get here, chances are there was a lot more you could have done to avoid the bullets to get in there prematurely. If you have ears. I am far more interested, especially the older I get, in learning how to fight the enemy that my physical eyes cannot see, so that that enemy does not convert itself into a physical enemy